We're going to go through a little bit of history in Longview, and when it comes to fluoride, we did some research and figured out exactly when it started, and there's some pretty interesting history related to it. Then we're going to talk about current status, costs, projects, and then our participants agreement with our partner, Beacon Hill. So Longview began fluoridation in 1951. Council made this decision based on testimony from constituents and recent studies that showed that fluoride had oral health benefits during the early 1950s, and this initiative at the time received very little opposition, so council voted to start adding fluoride. After a couple of years, council started getting some pushback from citizens with concerns of mass medication was kind of the main concern, and council decided to hold an advisory vote, a referendum vote. At this point, council or the fluoride failed by 177 votes, and fluoride was removed.
How many votes total were cast in that?
I don't know that information, unfortunately. I could not find that data, but
could we request that from the county at some point? I know that's
yeah, I can get that information.
But somebody requested at some point.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then the fluoride fight continued, and in mid-1956, council approved Ordinance 850, repealing Ordinance 625, removing the ability to add fluoride from city code. And in an interesting fact, Mayor Nichols actually vetoed that initiative that council voted in, that ordinance. And then later in 1956, council made the decision to add fluoride back into the water. And this decision was based on a recent study that showed recent state study that showed poor oral health in Kelso, which received the same water as Longview out of the Cowlitz. Then they kept getting pushback, kept getting opposition. So council again in 1958 decided to hold a second advisory vote, and this time fluoride passed with a 60% approval, and it's been in our water ever since. So our water comes from a very large aquifer that is charged by the Columbia River. This aquifer naturally has naturally occurring fluoride ranging from 0.21 parts per million up to 0.31 parts per million. And we do see a little bit of fluctuation in that as we go through, and it can get a little bit higher, but this is kind of the base tests. Then the average that it comes out of the aquifer is about 0.25, but actually this year we're turning a little bit higher at about a 0.3, and we have been for the past couple of years. So the Department of Health requires if you add fluoride to your water, you have to bring it to a 0.7 parts per million. This provides the optimum benefit and is what's considered safe and provides the best benefits to the fluoride that you're consuming. So back 246, 290, 460 requires that the operating range. So our goal is always a 0.7, but it does fluctuate between a 0.5 to a 0.9. That is what's allowed in the operating range. If it gets outside of that range, then you have to make adjustments to bring it back down to get it within that range. So it's not always consistent and perfect. And the fact that we get the dosing so good all the time is actually pretty amazing. To give you a little bit of context on what 1 part per million means, it means about 1 inch in a 16-mile stretch of roadway, or 1 word in the 7-book series of Harry Potter. So it's a very, very small amount that we have to get. So it has to be extremely accurate. And the fact that we have the equipment to get it as accurate as we do is incredible.